Welcome to today's edition of Mental Health Matters. Today we're going to be talking about improv EQ. I have Bethsaida LeBron on the show today, and she's going to share a little bit about her business and how she's going into businesses and shaping with improv and comedy. So get you something to drink and get you a snack and come on back. So, Bethsaida, welcome back to the show.
It's so lovely to be here again.
Yes. So this part of the show, I really want to really emphasize that you have a very unique business that I think people need to hear about, and I think people need to invest in as well. I know when I was doing my research, when you originally told me about it too, and then recently when yesterday I think I asked you to send me the link. I started to kind of do a little bit more research. I'm like, oh, okay, this is good, you know. So I really want to highlight what you do and just see if we can just raise awareness about what you do, and hopefully people can really benefit from what you do. So once again, you could just make a little introduction and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So I'm Bethsaida LeBron, and I am the founder of ImprovEQ. And so it is an organization where I'm a team building expert. And my goal is to guide teams to build inclusive, supportive, and fun work cultures.
Yeah, nice, nice. So first of all, I want to ask you, why did you decide to go in business for yourself? Because I know you have a mental health background. You worked with nonprofits that provide mental health services, and boom, one day you said, oh, I'm going to start my own business. I'm like, oh, okay. So why did you decide to take that leap of faith?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll just tell you the whole story. So you and I know each other from way back. So I've
Yeah,
been in the mental health space for a while, and I had always kind of gravitated towards training. Like that's just
yes,
anytime there was an opportunity to train, even before I knew I wanted to be a trainer, other people saw
yeah,
it in me, and they'd be like, Betsaida, will you lead this piece, or will you come with an icebreaker? Will you break down this concept? And I was always like, yeah, of course. Um, and I loved doing it. And I did
yeah,
a lot of training. I also, um, I was doing comedy at night. So I was like,
yeah,
my moonlighting is comedy. I was doing stand up comedy. I was doing improv comedy, and then doing mental health and training during the day. I used to bring some of the improv exercises into my trainings, just to kind of liven it up, make it a little more interesting,
yeah,
make it more interactive. And I realized pretty quickly that it helped people grasp
yeah,
certain concepts. And one of those concepts is emotional intelligence. And
yeah,
it made it easier to understand when we were learning through kind of interactive play versus me
yeah,
just standing at a board and telling people, here's what you need to know. You had to like
yeah,
do it, you had to feel it. And
yes,
so that was always kind of in the back of my mind, like, oh, this really works. Like, I should really, and I didn't necessarily think I was going to go into business for myself. Um,
yeah,
but after, a little bit of time, I was like, I'll be honest with you, I kind of had to um, realize that if I wanted to do something that made an impact,
mm-hmm,
and I wanted to work with people and leadership that like I knew could be held accountable and that
yeah,
were on the same page as me and were trying to make the kind of change that I was trying to make, that I had to be the one to do it. You know,
yes,
I worked in a handful of organizations that I've, you know, I'm an idea generator. I create these
yeah,
ideas and then I bring them to the leadership, and I'm excited about them. And a
yeah,
lot of times, leadership just is always ready to tell me what they can't do,
yeah,
and they don't have the
yeah,
vision of what we could be doing, what is
yes,
possible.
yeah,
And I understand that as like it's just a protect. It's a kind of a protection mentality. uh,
Yes.
and but that wasn't the kind of work I wanted to be doing. I wanted to work in the possible,
Yeah.
and not just focus on what's impossible. So
Yes.
I really needed to. I I was like, nobody's going to believe in my ideas more than me. So
Right. Exactly.
I gotta take this leap of faith and, uh, yeah, and
Yeah.
make it happen. So,
Yeah.
and that,
So
for me, that was the biggest thing.
how long have you been in business?
So I've been in business full time, doing
Yeah.
this for a just about a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice. That's
I know.
cool. Yeah.
So I
Wow, so you
started.
kind of
Yeah.
got your feet wet. Yeah.
Yeah, I was doing it for
So
just a couple months before we all went virtual. So
right, right, right. So is COVID affected like is COVID affected in a way where it will stop you from generating, or just like you can work around that?
um, I was able to pretty much to work around it and to kind of pivot into an online space. So
Good.
all of my stuff was in person, and then now
Yeah.
that we're online, the two funny things happened. One is that I was no longer limited by my geography. So
Mm-hmm.
I was doing local things in Sacramento. Sometimes I would travel to other places, but that would
Yeah.
take, if I was going to go do a session in, I did a session in Wisconsin,
Yeah.
is a whole day to get there, then a day to
Yeah.
do the training, a whole day to get back. So that's three
Yeah.
days
Yeah.
versus now, like I jump online, I could do that in like just a couple hours,
Right.
which changes. It's a game changer. I've
Yes.
been able to do things for clients in London and in
Yeah.
Australia because
Wow.
I'm online, and
Yeah.
it makes it work, makes it easier. So that's one thing that kind of uh, definitely changed. And then the other thing that changed is um, a lot of work companies and teams, now that they weren't coming into the office and seeing each other in person, I think a
Yeah.
lot of people started to realize how important connection and culture is. So the
Yes.
work that I do all of a sudden became more relevant.
Yes. That's good. So let's talk a little bit about the services that you provide with Improv EQ. What do you? Let's talk about what you do so
Yeah,
people can know how you can help them.
absolutely. So I um, I basically teach. It's emotional intelligence, but through um, my tool is improv. And so
Hmm.
improv, for people who don't know, it is a they're like theater games because
Hmm.
it's theater without a script. So I've
Yeah.
been a professional improviser for almost 15 years. I've been performing for a long time and have traveled and performed many places, which has been really cool. And one of the things that you learn as an improviser is when I step on stage, I have no idea what's going to happen, right? I don't have a script, I don't have a character, I don't have anything, but I trust that we're going to figure it out. I trust that I can listen to my team. I'm our goal is to just work together collaboratively, to listen, to
Hmm.
build on what's there so we can get to the next thing. And that is how we improvise, on stage as a performance. But I think that's how all teams, good teams, work together.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I teach teams how to do what I do on stage, so that they can implement it in their everyday work lives.
Yeah. So that consists of like workshops, virtual team building, classes and things like that. And you tailor that to the company and their need. Is that correct?
Yeah. So with each team, with each organization, I like to know more about them and who they are and what
Yeah.
they're trying to do. And everything I do is completely tailored and customized for each group. So, um, when people are thinking about team building, there's lots of different kinds of team building, and what is it that they're looking for, and I will customize these trainings. And so they are right now they're online, they're virtual, but they're still interactive
Yeah.
workshops.
Yeah. Yeah. Give an example of one you did that you feel was a really effective with that particular organization.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to do. actually locally for the Sacramento Rainbow Chamber of Commerce to
Yeah,
host a
nice.
series for them on building belonging. So the
Yeah,
idea of um,
nice.
diversity and inclusion
Hmm.
to build a sense of belonging, and what does that mean?
Yeah.
So the way that I used improv was to help people, because what improv for me it is it's just kind of a pattern interrupt, right?
Hmm.
So there's certain
Yes.
ways that we live, and this,
Hmm.
this my philosophy. There's certain ways that we
Yeah.
live, and I say, like nobody in the morning gives you a script of kind of what your day is going to look like. So we're all improvising all the time, but we
Yeah.
kind of sometimes get stuck in these ruts, these
Hmm.
certain ways of doing things, these certain ways of thinking, um, and those can lead to a lot of unhelpful behaviors, a lot of
Yes.
unhelpful ways of thinking.
Hmm.
A lot of our biases come from those unchallenged scripts that we create, these unchallenged ways of thinking. And so improv really shakes you up and makes you kind of
Yes.
like have to think in a way that your brain doesn't usually. And that is
Uh-huh.
so good because it challenges those things. It
Yeah.
makes you have to like, wait, is that true? Maybe that's not true. Where else is my brain, um, you know, missing some pieces?
Yeah.
And so that was really great to help use improv to help people recognize where they're listening, where they're not listening,
Yeah.
where they're making these general assumptions about people that is not
Yeah.
accurate or helpful and that doesn't serve
Yeah.
the group. And so
Yeah.
improv is also, like I said, we don't know how it's going to work, so we're always listening, and
Yeah.
I always want to hear what you're saying so that I can build on it so that we can get somewhere together. And that is a very different way of thinking than we usually show up. A lot of
Yeah.
times most people have been taught to show up in a space and like take this space that they can and like puff up and
Yes.
take up things. And in improv we really are thoughtful about, there's space for you, and I step up when I need to and I step back when I
Yeah.
can, because it's about
Yes.
the group. And so when you do that effectively, you build belonging, you consider everyone as an individual. It encourages you to challenge these biases that you have, these unconscious biases that you have,
Yeah.
whether that be about um, people, whether it's their race, their sex, their national origin, whatever those unhelpful beliefs that you have, these biases. Improv really helps you challenge them in a way that's
Yes.
playful and that doesn't, you know, it's not like, ooh, you're a bad person. It's just like,
Yeah.
isn't that isn't that wild that your brain is not helping you? How can we do it
Yeah.
different?
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds like there's really no right or wrong with improv. It's
Right.
just you just kind of go with the flow,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. I like that a lot, actually. I had a chance to do your improv game lab with you. It's so funny because you sent me notification, and I was telling myself, I think it was last week. Was it? Yeah, last week, because that was the week, the day before Thanksgiving, and I saw it come up my email, and I'm like, okay, make time, make time, make time. But other stuff happened. But I really, really, really enjoyed that. I will be honest. At first, I was a little bit nervous, but you conducted it in a way where you brought me out, you brought me to a place of comfort. And the people that was on there, you broke us out in groups. I was like, oh, okay. And it was just so. It was like I didn't want the end. Like I was like, okay, I could have went on doing this. And so I really want people to take opportunities to people that watch this. I hope that they connect with you for that, because I think that's a really good tool to kind of break people out of their shell. I know for me at least, you know.
Yeah.
And also I think it decreases not just this, but the other services you provide. It decrease fear and
Yes.
anxiety. You get tools and things that can apply to not just the workplace, but your everyday life as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought up the game lab. And yes, if anyone is, watching or listening to this and they want to join, I host an improv kind of drop in, which is called Game Lab, every Wednesday night, and that's from
Yeah.
7 to 8:30 p.m. Pacific
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And it's exactly that. And that's, you know, I'm so happy to hear you say that it was, you know, and I think people show up the first time, you
Yeah.
know, nervous, and that's so
Yeah.
normal because trying something new
Yeah.
for anybody is always going to be like scary. Like, how is this going
Yeah.
to go? And
Yeah.
my goal is to help people just to play, to
Yeah.
like to relax and to play and to
Yeah.
learn how to be in the moment. Because I don't,
Yes.
we don't, we as a society, we're not people who are in the moment, right? And I say
Yes.
this at every one of my workshops, and I'm going to share it with you right now and with everyone who's listening, is that, you know, think about the fact that if you are judging yourself
Mm-hmm.
or you're judging others, you can only judge something that has already happened.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
if you are judging in a
Mm.
space of judgment, you're actually
Mm-hmm.
living in the past.
Yes. Yes.
And if you're
Powerful.
anxious or worried, you can only be worried about something that has not happened yet.
Yes.
So you're
Exactly.
actually, if you're in a space of worry or anxiety, you're in the future.
Yeah.
And so the
Mm.
goal of improv is to let go of the judgment, let go of the worry, and be so present in this moment
Yeah.
that when you're able to be here, then
Yeah.
it's clear that the only thing you need to do is then, okay, so what's next? And
Yeah.
when you think of it like that, and it's a step by step approach, and you think of like it's about building community and doing just the needed steps,
Yeah.
everything seems a little bit more doable, right? And it's a sense of
Yes.
community and a sense of we're working together to build momentum.
Yes.
And that's like, that's culture transformation to me.
Exactly, exactly. You know, so what I see, I love how uh, I feel like you've taken not only the comedy part of your background, but you also have taken a mental health part of your background, and you combine them, and you're using it to really shape or reshape the way that we were taught in a sense, and just kind of, you know, kind of going against a little bit the biases what we was taught and how we was taught to think and stuff, and like, no, let that go. Let's start blank and see what happened. I know when I was reading on your website, which you really got a good website by the way too. It was really easy to read, straight to the point.
Thank you.
Um, but I know it was talking about how the services helps with employee morale and burnout. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, what's really great about, you know, kind of what I do is that
Yeah,
people laugh, right?
yeah,
I give permission for people to play. Like, yes,
yeah,
there's some lessons, and you know, I'm working on some stuff. Like you said, you know, there is like the mental health piece of it.
yeah,
That's, you know, the emotional intelligence piece,
yeah,
challenging those biases. But truly, what I want is for people to have permission to play. And
yeah,
when we play, when we laugh,
yeah.
right, like that changes how we feel about ourselves and how we feel about other people. Like, you don't laugh with people you don't like.
Correct.
You just
Yes.
we don't. So if we can
Yes.
laugh together, already
Yeah.
we're sending, you know, messages to our brain. Oh, we like each other, we're on the same
Yeah.
team, we got each other's back. And it helps to change how we feel about each other as an organization. It also is huge stress relief to be able to laugh together.
Yeah.
And the piece for burnout, there's science that has come out very recently that shows that um, the solution to
Yeah.
burnout is connection.
Yeah.
That burnout happens when there are so many things that you feel like you need to do, um, and feel like you're doing too much and still not doing enough,
Not. Yeah. Wow.
right?
Yeah.
And so that those things don't make sense. You can't have so much to do and still feel like you're doing too much and not enough. Like,
Yeah.
you can't, right? And so
Yeah.
that comes from this mentality that you're alone and you
Yeah.
have to do all those things without support. That's
Yeah.
what causes burnout. And so when people recognize they're not alone and they can
Mm-hmm.
remember the connections they have to their team and to lean on their team in an authentic, real way, like,
Yes.
that's going to alleviate your burnout. Instead of
Yes.
just sitting with it and being like, oh my God, I have so much to do, like and just letting it rise and rise,
Yeah.
reach out to somebody that you trust on your team when you
Yeah.
feel like you can, and say, hey, like I'm at my max today, right?
Yeah.
And know that they got your back.
Yes.
That's the cure for burnout. And so that's what I really teach and encourage teams to start showing up for
Yes.
themselves and for the team that way.
Yeah. One of the things I do like that you do team building as part of the services that's provided through your organization, because like you said, if you don't like somebody, don't get along with somebody, you're not willing to make yourself vulnerable. You're not going to laugh. You're not going to be open. It's this wall up. And so when you do conduct some form of team building, it helps people to trust each other, to lean on each other, to implement other people's ideas. You take a back seat, let them step up, and now you step up, they take a back seat. I think that is so, so important. I know one organization I was that I've only did team building and two organizations I worked for since I've been here in California. The the last one was kind of like, but the other one before that, it was really creative. We ended up going to the day before, me, the my boss, and kind of like my sister, we ended up going to Apple Hill. And then we started putting things around. So we created like this clue thing and stuff, the scavenger hunt. And so people had to go and they had to break up in teams. It was awesome. It was awesome. And at the end of the day, we all had to come together and eat. And it was really good how people who didn't really like each other or didn't care for each other, I put them on the same team, because you guys now have to be adults and have to work with each other despite your differences. So I think that's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's so true. Like, I think, and you kind of got me thinking right now, but as adults, sometimes we will isolate ourselves and only be around
Yes.
the people who think like us and who act like us, and don't interact with other people. And that's not the
Yeah.
world. I
Yeah.
think that's part of why we are in the situation where we are right now, where we just
Yeah.
are intolerable of others,
Yeah.
is because we're not like we used to when we were kids. Like everyone's gonna
Yeah.
play together, like you're gonna make it work. And as
Yeah.
adults, we're just like, no, no,
Yeah.
no. And you just
Yeah.
only stick with your people, and then
Right.
there's this huge group of people you don't know how to work with.
Right.
And
Exactly.
that's not good for you. That's not good for the causes and the things that you care about,
Yeah.
because you're always going to be able to reach your goals better when you have like connections and
Yes.
people who care about you and that support
Yeah.
you, and that you got their back too. So
Yeah.
it's really
Yeah.
in all of our interest.
Yeah. And that's what you call, I think I read on your website, psychological safety.
Yes.
It's that component where you are allowing yourself to, because when you think about it, I know at one point I was interacting with people, and I feel like I always kind of like clothes. I like to look nice. I like to dress. But I felt like I had to always be on point physically every time I go around. I couldn't wear the same thing. I couldn't wear the same shoes or coats. And that was so much pressure to keep up that image. And I got to a point, I was like, especially when I started seeing their flaws and their faults, I was like, oh my God, you know, I started going around with hats on, not shaving. I didn't care. And it was so much freedom to just be able to kind of be myself instead of trying to put up this front. And it was affecting me mentally. I can tell you right now, because some days I'd be in my room, I had like 5 outfits sitting on the bed, like I couldn't make a decision which one. Okay, did I wear these shoes 2 weeks ago? Or when I saw this, it was too much. What I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's exhausting. I totally get that. Like
Yeah,
anytime that you're feeling like I'm showing up to prove something,
yeah,
that is
yes,
regardless. I mean, if it's clothes, if it's like I'm
yes,
showing up to prove that I'm smart enough to be in this room,
yes,
that I'm showing up
yes,
to prove that I'm like, I'm funny enough, I'm good enough,
yeah,
I'm whatever enough.
yes,
Like it's exhausting. and
yes,
and I think exactly that psychological safety that I try to
yeah,
create in every one of my trainings and every one of
yeah,
like the game lab, is that when you show up,
Yes.
That's it. You did it. You showed
Yeah.
up.
Yes.
That's enough.
Exactly.
Right. And like you said earlier, there's no right, there's no wrong. I'm not going to
Yes.
label anything you did as wrong, but we can
Yes.
always learn from what we did. It's not right,
Exactly.
it's not wrong, but what can we learn from it? So
Yes.
now that you know what you know, would you do it different?
Yeah. Oh,
No,
absolutely.
right?
Cause
It's no
yeah,
judgment though.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because because one of the things that happened too, I didn't realize is these group of individual, they put expectation on each other. And I saw that. So I think I kind of fell into that pattern, not really knowing. They're just kind of like, they all physically on point and just, sharp clothes. And I think I fell and I saw the way that they will say things about each other when another person went there. And so I'm like, oh, so I knew like, okay, I got to be on point. But I'm thinking like, why? When I start seeing the other side, I'm like, oh, screw them.
Right.
Not in that point, in that aspect, but I'm thinking like, I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna go over here. If I want to put on the hat, put on the hat. I ain't shaved, I'm not shaved. I'm putting on house shoes. That you're gonna set me for who I am and don't set me at all. But I would definitely do it all over again,
Yeah.
100%. So yeah. So you got
That's
a new
big.
project, huh?
I said that's big. That's great to know to like just hey, I am who I am. Like
Oh yeah.
not
Oh
everyone's
yeah.
gonna like it, and that's
Oh
okay.
yeah.
That's
Oh yeah. Absolutely. So you working on a new project.
yeah.
It is, what is the name? Improv EQ Kids program.
I am. Yeah. So
Talk a
it
little bit
is.
about that. I was really, so when I saw that on your website, I'm like, okay, this is cool because not only can adults benefit from your services, but kids can as well.
Yes. So I've been fortunate enough to be partnering with the city of Sacramento and the I'm with the Twin Rivers School District, and I'm
Nice.
teaching some kids. So it is like it is a really cool program that is called Healthy Heart and Minds. And so
Hmm.
really what they're trying to do is they're trying to use art as an expressive tool to
Yes.
address some of the um, mental health for kids. And so I'm in a couple elementary schools, and it has been so much fun. I have virtual classes with the kids, and I play improv games, and same thing that I do like with Game Lab, but like really
Yeah.
geared toward the this age group, and then having these conversations. And just last week we played this game, and on it's very I think it was a hilarious game. One of the games where one person uh, puts their camera on mute, but then they say a line and we can't hear them, and another kid has to translate what they just
Mm.
read their lips saying.
Yes.
And like, I mean, it is a game that's made to, it sets you up to fail, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're not going to get what they
Yeah.
said, but the intention is for you to do your best and try. And no matter what you say, it's we're going to treat it like that's absolutely the best thing that was ever said.
Yeah.
And afterwards, I talked to the kids about like, how was that? And some kids were like, that was so hard because I couldn't see what they were saying. Other kids said, actually, for me, it was easy because I knew I just had to like kind of have an idea and then go with it. And
Yeah.
so we talked about the different approaches. Like
Yeah.
if you're stressed and you have to get it perfect, how does that in what ways does that limit you?
Yeah.
And the kids were the ones telling me, right, that it like that's true, like it's not always going to be perfect, sometimes
Yeah.
that holds you back.
Yeah.
And even applying that to, I was like, how can you use that outside of improv? And they started talking to me about all these things that they could just like, start showing up and not worry about how it being perfect, that sometimes, it just getting it done because they can learn when they do it.
Yes.
And I was just like, these are fifth and sixth graders having some of
Yes.
these big life thoughts that I know some 30 and 40-year olds haven't even gotten to. So
Yes.
it's very
Yes.
cool.
Yes. That's awesome. Do you find it easier to work, or is it balanced to work with the kids in regards to your services, or adults, or just kind of like,
You know, I don't know that it's easier, but I got to be honest. I love working with adults
okay,
because kids in general are still allowed to be kids.
right, right,
They kind of understand how to play. I think
yeah,
adults they need more help to access
yes,
that
I get it.
playfulness. So
I
for
get it.
me, it's more satisfying to help an
Yeah.
adult get
Okay.
there.
Okay. Okay. That's fair. Well, we've run out of time. I do want you to, and I'm sure Max can do this too, but I want you to tell people where they can find you at if they want to get a hold of you. But just kind of you can verbalize your email, your website address, and your phone number, and then we can probably try to put up as well. So if somebody want to contact you for services or want to know more about what you do, tell me where they can find you at.
Yeah. So you can visit me, my website, which is improveq.org. You can also give me a call, 916-573-0301. Also, follow me on Instagram at improv.eq. That's the handle, or improv.betsaida, which is my personal Instagram handle as well. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, I really hope the people that watch this, I hope that they really invest time into what you're doing because it is it's necessary, especially in the times that we're living in regards to COVID. You can get these services online. You don't have to leave, go out to another destination. You just click on it and go online. So I personally know you're doing a good thing, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about what you're doing in the months and the years to come. So we're going to definitely check back in, about this particular services, your company in terms of what you're doing. And just I'm looking to hear good things and stuff.
well,
So thank
thanks.
you.
Thank you. Thanks
Yes,
for having me.
yes. And that's it for today's edition of Mental Health Matters. If you enjoyed the show with Basaida, or if you would like to be a guest on the show, or if you would like a DVD copy of the show, please dial 916 366 4600. Thank you.